Good morning. Well, this is going to be tough. I'll be doing it in Italian, right? You want me to speak Italian? Anyway, as I said, it's going to be tough. One, to stick to the time schedule, and also to my own personal commitment to try and make up for the delay a little bit. And thirdly, to bring to you the chemical and biochemical standpoint to an area where quantity, the number of names, definitions, expressions, and inaccuracies is huge. First of all, I participated in dinner with Helmut Sears many years ago in Germany, where oxidative stress, the term, was invented. And I doubt whether many other things have ever been as poorly interpreted as that expression. Oxidative stress means simply certain specific elements with oxidating characteristics, and that's it. Kinematics, thermodynamics, various things in the oxidative stress are also involved. It would be far too challenging to get into too much detail, and I don't want to do that right now anyway. But I will try to look at the situation historically, and I think that history, the whole history, starts with Rebecca Gersham's paper in 1954. She was working with Gilbert in Buenos Aires at the time, and they were working on a hot topic at the time. Hiroshima and Nagasaki weren't that many years before. Atomic energy was exploding on the scene, and they saw that the true culprits of damage to DNA, etc., was radiation, as well as another huge culprit that wasn't mentioned in the introduction, oxygen. We necessarily and always refer to this because this is the basis for evolution. And, of course, there could be mutations when radiation is present. And these mutations were mentioned here. They say that substances of various chemical natures that are known increase resistance to radiation. So we went wild. This was the opposite side of bombs. And they began to work on a dream that lasted for half a century and encountered many difficulties along the way. And the many difficulties along the way were encountered because it was an attempt to create a culture. And I'd like to sum it up here. The history of antioxidants is very old. In the 19th century, antioxidants were used to control the vulcanization of rubber. Even today, Formula One cars pretty much do the same thing, depending on the amount of antioxidant and polymerization of isogenol. And then, later in the 20s and 30s, it was found that oxidation occurred in the degradation of food. Then came the vitamins, St. George, etc., vitamins in laboratories. And why was vitamin C discovered at all? It was discovered by trying to prevent apples from darkening. And some way or another, St. George reconstructed this whole thing. He found vitamin shortage deficiency syndrome, and this was something that obviously didn't see vitamin C as an antioxidant. Bringing us to the 60s and 70s, there was a very strong drive from the space race, where what was bad was oxygen. The Russians were sending up pure oxygen into space, and when it came back, it was no good. So they started looking into the situation. That led to the 70s and 80s, a great deal of interest in peroxidation. Then 1990s, 2000, epidemiological evidence, fruit and vegetables are good for you because they're antioxidant, etc. And the last century, this century, wonders about the antioxidant role of known antioxidants. And this is why we need to look at the famous alternative pharmacy, which could exist, but needs to be looked at scientifically from the standpoint of chemistry, physically, and biology. Pure statistical epidemiological evidence is very weak. So what is an antioxidant? In reality, all polyphenols, oftentimes when they have orthoparahydroquinone properties, they work as antioxidants. And so in vitro, we all went wild for 30 years trying to measure the antioxidant properties of pretty much everything. So can we conclude that antioxidants really do reduce the risk of disease because they are antioxidant? You need a definition, otherwise we can't go on. And the first definition, thermodynamics, this is a list going from the bad on the top to the good on the bottom, and it's a straight line. There is no line separating the goodies from the baddies and the cowboys from the Indians. Here we have the potentials of oxidants and antioxidants. The top ones are oxidants, the last ones are antioxidants, and the line of between separating them is very hard to find. Those below a certain redox couple are antioxidant, and the ones above the line are oxidant for that particular couple. It's hard to define what's essential. If you look at tocopherol versus others, hydroxyperoxyl, one is oxidant and the other is antioxidant, but thermodynamics doesn't tell us where the line lies. This is a complex study, but I'll try and facilitate your understanding. Let's take chemical reactions that are blocked by antioxidants. An antioxidant has to react faster than the molecule that we're trying to protect. And therefore, if we take the reaction of hydroxy radicals 10 to the 9th, hydroxy radicals 10 to the 7th, 10 to the 8th, etc., it just doesn't make sense to talk about antioxidants. They would have to react at 10 to the 10th, which they can't. So every time you talk about those radicals, it's silly to talk about antioxidants. So what should you do? You need to prevent the formation of these molecules, but the mechanism is not in a plant antioxidant. So where do antioxidants work? They work where there is a genetic benefit. Hydroxy can react with these antioxidants, polyphenols, 10 to the first, or in a range or an order of magnitude of 10 times, sometimes up to 100 times, where I can prevent one radical reaction, the reaction of hydroxyperoxyl, and that is the chain-breaking reaction of the peroxidative chain. Hence, an antioxidant makes sense if it works on that particular reaction. So how can we defend ourselves from oxidation? Well, essentially, we can defend ourselves with what Mother Nature has given us. And Mother Nature gave us enzymes. Enzymes that reduce H2O2. It can reduce catalase. It can reduce hydroperoxidases, two of them, selenium dependent, and natural compounds or pharmacological compounds with nucleophile properties, and here there is room for food, for diet, and I'll be talking about that at the very end. A strong nucleophilic can work, not because it reduces free radicals, but because it shifts nucleophiles. Then we have dismutation of O2HO2, superoxide dismutase, and therefore, I'm going through this very quickly, maybe we can go back to it in the discussion. From kinetics and thermodynamics, you can conclude that in cells the antioxidant defense is sustained by enzymes, unequivocally, unambiguously. And secondly, polyphenols, natural polyphenols of various kinds, like tocopherol, for example, can play an action when they are numerous, for example, in the intestine. Before absorption, they can act on food. This has sustained the concept of oxidative stress, again, postprandial, where